Hello, YouTube. This is Captain Omni, and Happy New Year. Yeah, New Year. Not really one for New Year's resolutions necessarily. But yeah, yeah. So it's been a bit, and some news has come to my attention. I figured, you know what? I kind of sound a bit, but since no one's really been talking about it that much, figured, you know what? Figure I'd go ahead and really try to get that discussion going. And yeah, Miracleman is apparently joining the Marvel Universe. Now, for those of you who don't know, Miracleman was originally published in England right in 1953. He was created to be basically the British equivalent of Captain Marvel, because by 1953, Captain Marvel had basically ceased publication because DC sued Fawcett Comics, that whole story, and the publisher was like that reprinted Captain Marvel comics in England was like, well, those sold. What do we do? So the idea was they would take a lot of original Captain Marvel material and trace over it, redo it, and create a new character, Marvelman, and whose name was Mickey Morin, and who essentially was a kid who was given complete power of atomic energy by a space wizard or astrophysicist, basically a cosmic scientist. It varied between. It kind of varied, but basically the whole idea was his powers were more scientific than basically Captain Marvel was science. Well, I mean, Captain Marvel was the Billy Batson. Captain Marvel was magic. Marvel Man was science, even if it still amounted to just magic half the time. And they had other versions like Captain Marvel Jr. became Young Marvel Man, and Marion Marvel, was made into a boy and became Kid Marvel Man. Yeah, and which basically the idea was Marvel Man was, a full-grown adult. Young Marvel Man was more of a young man, like late teens or so, and Kid Marvel Man just didn't age up at all when they transformed. And Marvel Man did so with the word Kitoma, Kitoma, which is essentially atomic spelled backwards, but with a K. So, so basically, what would follow is, and it had a pretty good run. It had a really good run from 1953 to 1965, I believe. And but eventually, they just kind of stopped publishing. Not for any real reason, just major. Oh no, people. It's just basically comics managed to come back and they found other stuff, so Marvel Man kind of fell to the wayside. And then the more famous version would end up coming from Alan Moore in the 80s, where he would reboot it into a darker take and was renamed Miracleman, if only because Marvel at the time was like, hey, could you not call him Marvel Man? Now, granted, they didn't have the trademark for Marvel Man, but they were like, yeah, we don't really want to push it, but basically they were Marvel, and the publisher for Marvel Man was like, yeah, we really don't want to fight them because they're Marvel Comics. Yeah, so we don't want to fight this. So they kind of okay, we're just going to change the name Miracleman. It's still MM, so it's not that the logo changed at all. So yeah, and this is the version. So yeah, Miracleman. Yeah, that's the version that everyone is a bit more familiar with. He's a dark deconstruction of. Basically, a lot of the Captain Marvel-esque elements are still there. Someone that get the someone that changes with a quote unquote magic word into a superhuman. Alan Moore made Miracleman, this version of Mikey Morin, more into a take on Superman, in the sense of he didn't he didn't transform necessarily. He swapped bodies and shared a mind with a more advanced alien being, and basically retconned a lot of stuff about the original 50s to 60s run. It made it a lot darker. Like, he basically made Miracleman / Marvel Man more into a take on Superman, adding aliens into the origin, adding the fact that he had forgotten he was, like, because of the retcons, the idea was he was actually a government experiment, and he had forgotten that he was a superhero. And he grew up, he became like a middle-aged guy, kind of schlumpy, basically kind of he basically really made Miracleman more into a Clark Kent Superman thing, where it's like, okay, non-remarkable, secret identity, superhuman form, everyone loves. And it got really dark. It got, like, super, super dark. Basically, it was more akin to what you could see in... It really covered a lot of stuff you would later see more to do in Watchmen. And, basically what would follow is that essentially there would be a constant thing of rights issues with the character, which is essentially, like, not to the level that Captain Marvel had to deal with, Shazam did, but, like, essentially it's like, okay, who owned what? Because Neil Gaiman eventually came on and managed to get the, like, rights to the character, and when he started working at Image, Todd McFarlane tried to go, I'm going to introduce my version of Miracleman, who was known as the Man of Miracles, who was essentially God. It turns out, no, that wasn't quite accurate for him to do, because there was still a bit of a up in the air thing. Even Neil Gaiman didn't have the full rights, as it turned out. So, a few years ago, Marvel eventually decided, you know what? Yeah, we're just going to buy the character. We are going to buy the character. And this happened when Neil Gaiman ended up also coming on and, like, selling the rights to Angela from Spawn, which who he created and who he got the rights to, and she became the sister of Thor. Yeah, and which brings me to the big thing is, how are they going to do it? Now, they have said that, Miracleman is definitely coming into the Marvel Universe. The series Timeless has, like, brought in Miracleman. It's a new series which focuses on Kang the Conqueror, and at the end of the first issue, there's someone that has been seeing visions of the future that's been interacting with Kang, and who Kang has showed him, like, visions of the future, and one of them is, like, he's writing it down in a journal, and one of the things he saw is the Miracleman logo that he had drawn in his journal. And, they confirmed with a teaser showing up, like, Miracleman is coming to the Marvel Universe, and how that's going to affect things. And now, considering the fact, here's the thing, Miracleman ended on a very, 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 like, spoiler, granted, it's not a huge spoiler, but this has been around for a while, basically ended with, Miracleman taking over his Earth in a benevolent way. Like, basically, he's like, okay, I'm going to advance Earth, I'm going to make everyone I can into superhumans, I'm going to make a utopia out of Earth. And he did so in a very benign, evil way. Like, he just, like, advanced everything, but at the same time, there was less humanity, there was less, so basically, it was kind of ended on a, is this good? Is this bad? It was kind of like, ended on a very, thought-provoking way. Now, obviously, I don't think, now, going back to what I said, now, the main thing is, now, I've been kind of kicking it around a little bit, had some disagreements with a couple of friends here or there about what they could do with Miracleman. Now, personally, I don't think you can necessarily full-on fit the Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman take into the Marvel Universe. I really don't. Could you do a like allusion to it? Could you be similar to it? Oh yes, definitely. I do think you could be very similar to it. But the thing with this is, essentially, what would have to happen is, like, okay, for instance, in Miracleman, you had Kid Miracleman who ended up growing up and basically being evil. Like, Kid Miracleman essentially transformed slowly, became Miracleman's version of Black Adam, mixed with Carnage, pretty much, in the sense of, yeah, he would kill anyone he wanted, he would flaunt his power, and essentially it's like, there is a very haunting scene of the aftermath of his rampage, and it still holds up as quite disturbing. Like, Watchmen getting come close to that disturbing. Like, there is not a lot of comics that really got as disturbing as, I mean, granted, that aren't outright, basically, this isn't for a comic that is not meant to be an outright horror comic. Yeah, that's kind of, basically, I mean, granted, Alan Moore did say he, like, came up with the idea of Miracleman if Superman was a horror story, but at the same time, though, it's kind of easy to forget that up until that point. I was like, wow. Yeah, so, again, I'm not saying even that couldn't work. What I'm saying is, it would be like trying to throw now, to use a comparison that's happened recently, trying to have the tone of Watchmen and Watchmen characters in the DC universe coexisting with them. Like, it would be basically trying to go, oh, by the way, Dr. Manhattan exists now in the DC universe. Like, has always existed, exact same story. It would be kind of similar to that. Now, obviously, it would basically be like trying to do Doomsday Clock, except, oh, by the way, Dr. Manhattan's always existed in this universe. So's Rorschach. So's the entire story of Watchmen, except, it's in the DC universe now. And not multiverse, DC universe, which I'm not sure could work. I mean, granted, I think they could try to go for, like, the original, like, Marvel Man setup, where he's more like Captain Marvel, Shazam, but at the same time, it's like, even I realize, having thought about it more, I'm like, nah, maybe that can't work necessarily either. I mean, I go back to what they did with Angela, and how they adapted her into the Marvel Universe. Because, here's the thing, Angela was adapted as, she's Thor's sister. She's Thor's long-lost sister. That's how she was adapted in the Marvel Universe. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like, it's interesting. It still allows Angela to have this kind of, like, godly connection without, like, completely stripping her of everything. Now, could they do something similar with Miracleman? I believe so, because here's the thing. The main issue is also you have a character like the Sentry. The Sentry, now, regardless of how anyone might feel about him, the Sentry had a strong opening and closing arc in his original Marvel Knights run. He was like Miracleman, though, he was a middle-aged guy who ended up slowly remembering, oh wait, I'm a superhero, and he transforms, and, that's what kind of, like, follows. The Sentry borrows quite a bit, like, on a base DNA level from Miracleman. And regardless of what happened to the character after that series, well, yeah, but still at the same time, though, it's very much a kind of, okay, now, the Grand Sentry is dead at the moment, but at the same time, it's like, okay, how do you reconcile that with, like, okay, you have one character that's basically exactly the same, origin-wise. I mean, again, there are ways to do around it. It's just, I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to whatever they do. Whatever they want to do, however they do it, I'm interested to see how they're going to handle this. I'm very interested.
Power off.
And, but, that was my Bluetooth, sorry. But, yeah, I'm very interested to see how they're going to handle this. So, yeah, comment below. Let me know, and yeah, I'll comment below. Let me know. Happy New Year, and yeah, just tell me, what do you guys think? What do you guys want to see with Miracleman in the Marvel universe? Do you guys want to see something more like the Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman take? Do you guys want to see something a little lighter, maybe? Or do you guys want to see just a totally brand new version of the character uh, in the Marvel universe? Because yeah, basically how I'm seeing it is, he could either be essentially their equivalent to Superman, because yeah, like Marvel needs another one of those. Don't worry, I'm a Superman fanatic, and even I'm like, wow, Marvel does have a lot of Superman. uh, or he could be like, one thing I don't want to see is necessarily him be a villain, because I think that is just too easy a route. I think that is too easy a route to take with the character. You know, it's like, he's a deconstruction, so we were going to make him a villain. I think that's too easy a route. I think it's a kind of a lazy route, to be honest. But that's my personal opinion. What do you guys think? You can hear what you guys think about this. So yeah, comment below, let me know. This is Captain Omni. Happy New Year, and yeah, let's see how this year goes, and what it holds for the man of miracles. Captain Omni, signing off.